All right. Well, welcome back to another episode of Try It Thursdays. And I'm really excited about today's guest because not only does she have a heart for people, but she's made it her mission to help others experience the beauty of Yah's creation. And so I'm thrilled to introduce Alexis, and she's the CEO of her own outdoor adventure business called Authentic Adventures, correct? Did I get
Yeah.
that? Okay, I hadn't written that down. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm missing that part. And it's Authentic Adventures Central California. So I'm assuming there's others, but so this is Central California Authentic
Yeah.
Adventures.
Yeah, there's others out there. When I picked the name, I wanted to make sure I didn't get in any trouble taking someone else's name. So I
Right.
stuck that in there. Yeah, I just threw that in there. But yeah, there's others and I go to other places outside of Central California, but primarily mostly here. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So from it's a certified, you are a certified therapeutic recreational specialist for
Yeah.
over 15 years. And
Yeah.
so I didn't know that. I mean, we went to church together, and what, how many queen camps and everything we went to and stuff. And I mean, I knew you, although I think we ended up leaving and right as you were building this, I think, if I remember correctly.
Building this in 2020. Or
Okay.
no, I started building in 2021. In 2020, I was working as a therapist and I was really burnt out. I had a job that I enjoyed who I worked with, but I was doing too much and I wanted an out. And so I remember the beginning of 2020 being like, God, I got to get out of here. Like this,
Yeah.
I'm drowning. And like, I was pretty much told that, like, sorry, no help is coming, kind of deal with it. Not, yeah, but and so I was like, okay. So I remember telling my friend, I'm like, I'm gonna leave. And she's like, no. And I'm like, I had no idea what I was gonna do at the time. And then 2020 happened and COVID happened and it shut the world down and two-thirds of my job went away. And I remember thinking, like everybody else is like kind of grieving that. And I'm like, yes, because I get my life back. And I mean, yes, COVID was very, very hard, but it allowed me to stop and be like, okay, I know I can no longer do this, what I'm doing. I have to figure out what I can do next because I know when the world opens back up, my life is going to go back to the way it was, and I can't have it go that way because I am drowning in this. I can't function like this anymore. So I just started like dabbling with entrepreneurship, which was scary because my mom is an entrepreneur, my uncle is an entrepreneur, and so is my grandfather. And I thought all of them were nuts because I saw how much they struggled. And so I did not want that for myself. But I was like, let me look and see what this looks like. So I started podcasting and like getting into podcasting editing and then writing and dabbling in little things, but nothing ever felt
I
right.
remember that actually. I do remember that.
Yeah,
That's
and
great.
nothing felt like I didn't have peace. And then I remember talking to one of my podcast hosts, who ended up being my business coach for a little bit. She's like, "What makes you happy? What stirs your soul?" And I'm like, "When I'm outdoors, I'm like, when I go and I'm in the forest and I'm hiking, I am at my happiest." And she's like, "Well, why can't you make that a job?" And I was like, what? I was like, it didn't compute to like even consider that. And like
Yeah.
during COVID, because everything was shut down for like going indoors places, I was outside a lot because like I had all this free time. Our parks were semi-open. Um, and so I just was outdoors all the time. And then I had friends who were like, let me join you. And I started taking them. And then I kept hearing the same thing. What if you considered doing this as a career? And I was like, oh, I don't know, and I was just really truly scared. And so when it kept getting louder, like how God's like, I want you to do something, it doesn't go away. And
Right.
he just kept coming up. Consider this, consider this, consider this. And so I remember August of 21, and year and a half had passed at this point. Um, I was like, okay, God, apparently you want me to consider this. Like I need some things. If I
A
get it.
while to get it, but yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's like I need some things to do this. I need some serious confirmation. I need business help because I am a therapist. I don't know how to run a business. Like I
Right.
need help. I need a vehicle because if I'm going to transport people in tours, I'm going to need a way to do that. I need a vehicle. I need another big van, and I need capital.
Uh-oh. Love your enthusiasm. And well, you've always been just happy and enthusiastic and just such a joy to be around. And so, but I love your passion about, being outdoors and sharing it with others and sharing Yah's creation
Yeah.
with others. Cause, I remember a time after we had the big fire up here and I wanted out. I wanted to move. I wanted out of California anyway. And I definitely wanted to get away because, and I was operating out of fear, straight up. I knew it. And he did the same thing to me. He's like, yeah, not going to happen. Get used to it. And I was like, well, then make me love it. And I mean, I live in one of the most beautiful places. Right out my back door, on a clear day, I can see the peak of Mount McKinley, Mount Whitney,
No, Whitney. Yeah.
Mount Whitney on the east side. I can see the peak, right from my front yard. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I've just got a whole panoramic view of the Sierra Nevada mountains. I'm like, okay, I kind of love it.
Yeah. It's beautiful up there. I love the foothills. It's just its own beauty. And yeah.
Especially this time of year. Oh my gosh, this time of year with all the
Flowers,
flowers.
and yeah, it's gorgeous. And I just love being showing people that, because a lot of people, when I started my company, are like, why from Fresno? I'm like, well, we're close to all these parks, and a lot of guides live right by them. And I almost thought about doing that too, like living, but I'm like, no, I think like a lot of people that I've gotten are like really intimidated about going in the mountains, like driving on the mountain themselves. Like they are so
Yes.
relieved that I leave from here. And especially I think it's like of the three, the least scary, but the 180, so many people are scared taking the 180 east up. Like that
Really?
easier one for me compared to like the Yosemite one and the South Sequoia one. Like those are like worse for me. I mean, I'm used to all three, but people are terrified because there's no railing, so they can just they can see.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly, yeah, those.
Yeah,
And I was surprised at how many people that live in the Central Valley don't even know this exists up here. I mean,
yeah.
Yosemite's up here, but they've never experienced it. And, or like where I'm at, Shaver Lake and all the little places, people don't even know it exists.
Mm-mm.
They've never been outside of their little area. So it's beautiful
No.
that you bring them up and show all of this to them.
Yeah.
Um, and so, as a therapist, before you started doing the therapeutic recreation therapist, what kind of a therapist were you? Just like physical therapist or?
So I worked with them. So I've always been a recreation therapist since
Okay.
graduated in 2006. I went into rehabilitation counseling for like a brief moment, and then worked that and realized I did not like that because I was in an office and I was doing case management and it was torture. Like me having to sit down at a desk is
Yeah.
punishment. I don't, I like to be up and moving around. So I didn't last very long and I went back to being a rec therapist. So that's been my most of my career. Um, and I've done it with mental health, that's where I got my start and I loved it. It was really fun working with that population. And then I ended with kids and pediatrics, and that was really, really fun. And kids are just very resilient and light on their own.
Yeah.
And like, even if they face really hard things, they're like, okay, like I have wheels on my butt now. I'm just gonna go and be able to use this wheelchair and just kind of do amazing things. And when I work with adults, kind of in physical rehab, it's different.
Yeah.
It's a lot because you're older and you know what you've lost. And so like
Right.
it's just
Yeah. Because
harder to motivate.
when
Yeah.
I was bedbound and then housebound and using a walker after I had done a Trans Sierra trek and ran half marathons and everything. Yeah, the morning is just really
Yeah.
tough because it's like, and I had to get myself into the place where, okay, this may be my new reality forever, and I have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
And fortunately, the fathers brought me back, almost, 90% back, which I'm just so thankful. Of course, I really never thought I'd get this far back. So, yeah, I could see where adults would be more difficult because we mourn the loss, whereas kids are like,
Yeah.
okay, new normal.
Yeah. Like they mourn
Next.
a bit, but they're like, okay, what can I do? Like it's just a kind of like you're so young and it's just
Yeah.
you're able to kind of adapt a little bit
Oh,
better. Yeah.
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 So, can you share about how your work has helped build community through your outdoor adventures?
Um, let's see.
Um,
Oh,
that people are just coming and, doing all the different things with you, and, have friendships, connections with your tours? How's that all work?
I'm trying to think. So like most of my guests I get are
Uh-oh,
like
are
a
we
one and
lagging
done.
again?
A
Darn
little
it.
bit, yeah.
Oh, Father,
So now
please.
you're back though.
There we go.
Okay.
Yes,
So a lot of the
maybe.
guests that, yeah, so a lot of
Oh,
the guests,
Father, please.
okay. So a lot of the guests that I get, they are kind of like a one and done, but I still keep in touch with a lot of them. And they kind of like want to do more adventures, or we just like
Oh,
it's
darn
changed
it,
from being
Father.
like a client to being like um kind of friends. I think it might have,
Yeah,
yeah. Um,
it did. We're back. Yay.
Yeah, but like as a business owner, I've kind of I have a community of other fellow business owners. That's kind of where the community is being built
Right.
is getting to know other business owners and kind of like connecting,
Mm.
supporting in that way.
So, so anyway, you were saying with your clients, the people that, with building community connections, people, repeat. How's
Yeah.
how's that?
So it's more like they become clients and they're clients and then become more friends afterwards. And it's kind of changed on that level. And then like as a business owner, like building community with other business owners has been really big, which I found
Nice.
that's been really fun because I find that like in healthcare it was a great thing to work in, but like you kind of feel some competition and like there's like hierarchy, like this person is this person is this, but like in tourism,
Yes.
like I have competitors that I see in the park and we're like friends and it's just such a supportive community. And like if I can't take someone, I know I can send them there and vice versa. And we just want to hold each other up. It's just very different from where I was. Um, and it's just like, yeah, we're competitors, but like there's no threat there. Like they don't see me or like get out of the park, like this is mine. Like it's for everyone and they're just happy to like share their knowledge. They're happy to have you there. They're happy to like help you grow. Like it's just very cool. And that's where like being an entrepreneur, I've kind of found that in entrepreneurial spaces in general, it's just a very supportive community because you're all trying to build something and you want to
Right.
help each other succeed and build together. And so
Yeah.
I love entrepreneurship for that reason, which is so funny because my grandfather, and my uncle have all since passed. And they would be cracking up to know that I was an entrepreneur because I thought they were nuts. I really did. I was like, why would you choose this? This is so stressful.
You know what though? I found it's in the blood. It really is genetic because my
Yeah.
grandfather, my grandmother, my mother, all of them, same thing, all entrepreneurs. And I worked a corporate job for 10 years and hated it. I
Oh,
mean, there were some things I loved, but pretty much hated it. And at a desk with a computer. And the rest of the time, I've always just done a side thing to help, support the family,
right.
raising my kids and everything. So I've always kind of been an entrepreneur myself. And so, yeah, it's in the blood. It really is a genetic.
Is. It really is. Like if they were here, they would be just laughing. And I kind of like at times like miss that they are gone because I'm like, man, I have so many questions of how you do
Right?
it. And I remember my uncle was the last to go. He passed 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. And I remember I was kind of scared to tell him. But he found out anyway because my aunt knew what was going on and he was like, "Thanks for telling me about your business." I'm like, "Sorry, Uncle John." And like I was just so nervous to say that I was pursuing this too and he was super supportive. I don't know why I was so scared. But like um but yeah, like it's in the blood and even my sister, she thinks about it too. Like it's just yeah, all of a sudden you're just like you just get this little wild hair that says, what if I try this? And it's a lot of faith, like a lot of faith. Cause
Yep.
man, like I remember when I asked her all the things of like a capital, like vehicle and like business training, all three of those things came within a couple months. Like I got the
Wow.
vehicle in 2 weeks. I got picked for this thing called Betting Big on Black Businesses, which is in downtown Fresno. And then I got capital from that to start. So like it just happened, like God wanted to happen and it happened. And so, like, okay. And it I in 2022 of
And
May.
that's just it. Oh, are we locked again? There we go.
Yeah.
When he's behind it, everything falls into place. And you can try to run and you can try to say
Yeah.
no, and
Yeah.
but it's a loop. It keeps coming back around. That's what I find a
Yeah.
lot of times. It's like, okay, I submit, I'll give in.
Yeah, yeah. And there's times like in this journey I have wanted to quit because it's hard. It's really hard running a business.
Yeah.
And um he's like, right now he's like, you're in the messy middle, like you're in a growth stage where like you have to grow for it to sustain, and like you're getting pulled, and he's like, you're in the messy middle. He's like, I have seen the other side of this, stick with it. And I'm like, okay, like this is really hard right now, and I don't like it, and I'm uncomfortable, and I miss like having security of like a 9 to 5 and all
Yes.
that. I miss all that. But I'm like, okay, like, and I did briefly at the beginning of this year try to go back and do my therapy job. I lasted 2 days. I like, when you're in something, you're not supposed to be there. And
Yep.
I was like, yeah, everything inside me is screaming, this is the wrong way, like wrong way, get out. And I did. And I was like, okay. And as soon as I like did, it was like just peace. Like, yeah, this is
Yep.
what I'm supposed to be. And maybe I needed that for myself to know, like, I can't, like,
Right.
that's not where I'm supposed to be. This is where I'm supposed to be, even though it's hard. Yeah.
And now pursue peace. Pursue peace. It's pray, peace, pursue. That's like, yep,
Yeah.
okay, that's the direction I'm supposed to go in. Well, one of the things I really appreciate about your business is that you create opportunities for people at different ability levels. And that was like, I didn't even realize that, because I see your pictures and I'm like, oh, look, they're all having fun. I really miss doing that.
Yeah.
And so I love the fact. So you can you kind of tell us some of like the different types of tours that you offer and how you customize them for different needs?
So a lot of the guests I have gotten, about 95% of them do not want to hike. I have learned that as I've started. Like it says hiking tour, and then when I pick them up, they're like, "So how much hiking are we gonna do?" And I'm like, "Okay." So I can know right then and there. I'm like, "Okay, this is going to be more of a nice, gentle walk and take photos." So 95% of my guests are that. And I'm totally fine with that. About 5% want to go on a good, I want to sweat, I want to be able to like not breathe type of hike. I get about 5% of those a year. And I love those. That's what I enjoy doing. But most
Right.
of my guests are not that. And so I learned right away I had to pivot. I'm like, okay, people, I want to make the parks accessible not only for people with physical or emotional or whatever disabilities, but people who are just like, I'm not a hiker. I just want to go out and be outside. So I just was like, okay, I'm going to make this. I primarily look at target beginners, people who have not been to parks, who just want a passion for it and want to go and see them. And I just am trying to make it as easy as I can. So they're nice little walking tours where I walk them through the trees and kind of it's educational. And then I walk them around Yosemite and kind of share the history and take them on trails that are very easy and simple to do. And I always tell them, I'm giving you a taste so you can come back and do this yourself. And as for accommodating, so I get people with different ability levels. And some people tell me right away. And then I guess with my training, I can pick up when someone has difficulty physically. And sometimes I know it right away. Like I had a couple weeks ago, last week, who were like, I saw them and moving really hunched over, moving at a snail's pace. I'm like, okay, we're not going to be able to walk around the park. This is going to be like a drive, go a couple spots, let them look, and then walk back to the car. Like they won't be able to walk around the park. And so it's kind of on the fly. And I just kind of said it. I changed it. I'm like, hey, I'm going to get a pass that allows us to enjoy the park at an optimal level and get us close parking so you can still enjoy things but not have to walk as far. So kind of stuff like that. And so they're like, oh, that's really nice. I didn't know that was available. So like I can kind of do it that way. Some people tell me in
Nice.
advance. So I had a guest who was a wheelchair user and her family didn't feel comfortable didn't know the accessible trails in the park. And so they hired me kind of privately to take them. And so I did. I got a van, which they ended up using their van. They like theirs better, but I had it. And we drove around the park and I took them to all the accessible trails and showed them where she could go easily in her chair. I had a really sweet couple from like the East that were amazing, that her husband was diagnosed with MS and was just getting used to his limited. And so
Yeah.
it was private, and basically I showed him around the park and kind of did it at his pace, their timing. So kind of like what they're able to do. And if they have like significant ones, I usually do it private then, so I can really just focus on them and make sure it's tailored to what they need. But most people on the fly, I get guests who all ability levels, and on the fly, I can just kind of alter it depending on what the guests need.
That's beautiful. And like I said, I mean, this is exciting to me because being someone who is completely capable to then going to completely incapable to now
Yeah.
coming back, but still limited. That's what a blessing. What a blessing. And what a thing, a beautiful thing that you're offering to people. And so you've spent a lot of time in beautiful places like the Sequoia, Kings Canyon, Yosemite, those, and I've been blessed, living here to be able to, like I said, I did a 3-day Trans Sierra trek. We started over in Independence on the
Okay.
east side, and then we hiked across and ended up in the Sequoia National Park.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, and it was, I did it for my 50th. My sister-in-law and I both turned 50 at the same year. And so we did it as like, we're 50, we're going to go hike across the Sierras. She's a mountaineer and a mountain climber. Very,
Yeah.
very, yeah. And I had just lost like 80 pounds. And so it was kind of like my, hey, I've got this weight off. I want to go and be active and do something. And
Yeah.
so it was the things you see that not everybody gets to see is just amazing. So do you have a personal favorite, any hidden gems that that you love to take people to?
Um, gosh. Hetch Hetchy's probably my personal favorite place to go in Yosemite because a lot of people just don't. And it's just the history behind it is really cool. And then just the trails are gorgeous. And it's just so remote. You feel like in Yosemite Valley, you know that you're around a ton of people because they're everywhere.
Yeah,
But Hetch Hetchy, like you see cars in the parking lot, but you walk across that dam and go on the trails and you're it's just you and it's just really nice and it's not a hard trail to do and it's got
it's
great,
not.
yeah, that one. And then in Sequoia I love Topeka Falls. um
No, that's one I don't know. So
yeah,
interesting. Okay.
it's right off the campground. That one is popular but not a lot of people do it because people usually go for the trees. um but
Right.
that one is just, it has a waterfall at the back of it. So it's in Topeka Canyon, which is like right off of like Lodgepole Campground. You can park at the campground and then go and you're walking along the river and you end up like being like on boulders, the river's next to you, and then you're in the forest and you can see a lot of animals like deer, seen a couple bear, and then you end at this canyon at the back of the canyon with these boulders and beautiful waterfall. And I love marmots sitting sunning themselves. It's just a really nice trail and it's not long. It's like, oh my, maybe 4 miles round trip. And it's lovely. Like I love that one. It's a nice, if I get a guest who's like, I want to do a hike, I'm like, and they're in Sequoia and they don't want to, and it doesn't have to involve the trees. I like to do that one because it's just really pretty.
How difficult is that one? A
Um,
little more because of the boulders and stuff, maybe a little more difficult for someone who's limited.
um, or someone who's limited. The funniest thing is I remember taking, when I worked at the hospital, we took our kids on that trail for a little bit and they were able to do, but they fell a lot. So probably more on the moderate side because there's
Okay.
elevation change too. So you go from like I think 6,800 to like 7,200.
Okay.
So you gain some elevation too. So like I've had some guests who, especially from like lowlanders, like from the Midwest, who are like, oh shoot, like I can't breathe. Like it's hard to breathe.
Right.
And like we're going slow. And I'm like, yeah, just take your time. Like the altitude can like be a little bit of challenge, but is
Yeah, I learned that when I did the Trans Sierra. We went over Kearsarge Pass, and it
oh
was almost,
yeah.
yeah, and almost 12,000 feet. It was 1,100 and something feet. And when we went over it, and then we came down, and there's a really beautiful lake there, and we camped there for the night. And I got a little loopy. It was interesting as we were setting up camp. I'm like, oh, this is what altitude does, and so it was interesting. But yeah, that was amazing. So how has your relationship with the outdoors strengthened your faith and connected you with the creator of this beautiful?
I've always kind of seen God in the outdoors, always. As a kid, I would always just, I loved being outside and I loved just walking around and I would talk to God outside. And so it's always been my way of seeing him because it's like a visible representation of God. Like you can see that
Yeah.
he exists looking at his creation. And it is just, I've always seen him in that way. Like some people get it from like worship and like reading, but me, it's being outside. Like it's just,
It's truly a masterpiece. It
yeah,
shows his creativity is just mind-blowing. And when
yeah,
you, yeah,
yeah.
how wonderful. So if someone is watching this, how do they get in touch with you. I'll have all of your contact information and I'll share it, my social media on YouTube and all of that and the descriptions and everything. So, but just to let people know, you know, how they can, get booked with some tours. And do you have any like upcoming trips or special events that you want people to know about?
Yeah, so my website is the best place to like book anything. A lot of people also reach out on Instagram. I'm
Okay.
terrible with my Facebook page. Like I don't update that one for my business, but my Instagram is pretty active and I'm learning TikTok, that one too. So those are ways you can reach out and I can kind of help you.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of what else did you ask?
Just if you had
Oh,
any extra tours or any specials or anything coming up.
we are going to I think in June we're floating down the Merced River in Yosemite Valley because the water should be calm at that point to actually float down it. And it's like
Oh,
I'm partnering with someone called Golden Light Paddle. She's amazing. Her name is Stacy, and she has a paddle boarding company. And we did like the Firefall thing earlier this year together. And we're like, let's do another one. So we're gonna do a float down the Yosemite, the Merced River and Yosemite Valley, and then do sunset up at Glacier Point. Because if you haven't done that yet, it is magical. It's so pretty up there at sunset. You get to watch Half Dome change colors, and it's really pretty. And it's like one of my favorite things to do is to go up there and do that, even as just as a local. And then
right.
I think we're gonna do like a couple of other trips. As well. Like there's a really pretty cave that we're going to that's kind of not by Yosemite. It's in Vallecito, California by Columbia. There's a
Oh, yes.
yeah, there's swim caves there. So we're gonna go do like a paddling thing there and go to see the Calaveras Big Tree State Park, which is another place to see giant sequoias. And that I think is in July. And then we're trying to plan on doing like a paddle boarding in Morro Bay in August. Like I'll try and do all these water things when it's hot here
Right.
in
Yeah. To
Fresno.
get
Yeah.
people cooled off and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I loved seeing all your pictures of Firefall because that's one of the things I've always wanted. And from what I understand, you don't always get it. It's a really
No,
rare thing to actually capture it.
so rare. It took me 10 years to actually get it. Yeah, because either weather would get in the way. Mostly it was weather. And then last year we were sitting in the wrong spot. So it was happening, but it's all about the angle you're at. So we were at the angle where it made a heart shape versus the firefall shape. And then this year we just got really, really we found a good spot and the conditions were perfect and I finally got it. So we're gonna do it again next year. We're gonna do like a day one and then a weekend one, so people can join that if they want.
Oh, how that's wonderful. And floating down the river, that's something when I moved here from Northern California, there's a lot more rivers up there, or at least
Uh,
accessible rivers. And I when I moved here, I'm like, well, where's all the water? Where's the rivers and everything? And so something I've always wanted to do was to float down the river. And doing Yosemite would be amazing. Isn't the water going to be totally freezing? Because isn't the water always cold there?
yes, it's gonna be freezing, but we're figuring late June because Yosemite Valley gets hot, because
Yes.
it's more elevation. So like it doesn't feel terrible then. Like right now, like April, May, early June would not be fun to float because it's snow melt. So like
Yeah.
you're freezing
Glacier freezing. Yeah.
glacier water, you're freezing in it. But and when it's hot, it's refreshing to get in that cold, ice cold water.
Is it? Okay. See, I'm not a cold water fan. It's interesting because I was telling you about my sister-in-law. Her husband actually set a lot of the routes in Yosemite. He lived in Yosemite
Oh,
as a mountain climber and actually has been in magazines and everything. And he set a lot of the routes in the 70s and the 80s up there, like Half Dome and El Capitan and all of those. So he's
cool.
very, very, he knows that valley like the back of his hand and stuff. So I've heard some great stories. And I don't think of getting in the water in Yosemite because the only time I've really, and it's awful because I've lived here for 30 something years, but the only time I've really gone to Yosemite is to drive through to go to Bishop because they live over in Bishop. So we go through there to go visit. So it's like, oh yeah, this is such a beautiful commute. And that's really all. I've never really spent much time in Yosemite. And then, like I said, because when it opens, when the pass opens, Tioga Pass, it's still cold. And when
Yeah.
it, when it closes, it's still cold. Although we've gone in July and stuff, but I still never think about getting in the water there.
Yeah. Oh, especially up there. Like it's so cold up at oh yeah, there is because there's beautiful lakes up there, but it is
Yeah.
cold up at that
Oh, darn
elevation.
it.
Yeah.
Well, we drive through the valley, but still, like I said, I just like, and a lot of times it's just like getting through. It's like, oh, that's so beautiful, but let's get there because it's a long drive.
Yeah.
So I just want to thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this worked, and I'll let you know as soon as it all downloads and does its thing. I love you sharing your heart and your passion. You've just always been such a ray of sunshine,
Thank
you
you.
know, through the years of knowing you and stuff. And you're such a blessing. And what you're doing is such a blessing. Like I said, I just thought you took people on tours. I had no idea you did it for special needs. That is just so, so wonderful. And it sounds like that's mainly what you do. So, and I just really appreciate you. And to take people and show them his masterpieces. I mean, much more beautiful can that be? So,
Yeah.
and then building your community. So, everyone out there, if you're looking for a safe, welcoming, fun way to reconnect with nature, the Father's masterpiece, and meet new people, that you've got to go and check out Authentic Adventures. And like I said, I will put all of your contact information in the description. So,
Oh, thank you.
thank you, and we're froze again.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. There we go. Are you there?
Yep.
There you are. You're moving. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
Um, okay. You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, we'll just go ahead and close, and I'll get in touch with you and let you know if the recordings worked. All
Okay.
right.
All right.
Thank you again for joining me. Thank you so much. And I'll talk
Okay.
to you soon.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.